Hey friends, I'm in between steps on my barbecue right now, and so I wanted to take a minute and walk through this, the BBQ Journal. You've seen it in the videos, specifically this relaxing recipe series that I'm working through right now, but you may be wondering, I don't know if this is even worth the money. Well, ultimately it's your call, but I wanted to do a video that walks through what's inside and the purpose behind it. I have another video on the page that basically just says, hey, it exists, I hope it's helpful to you. Amazon doesn't give me the option of including pictures of the inside. So I wanted to walk through that here so you can make a better decision as to whether or not it's helpful. You're also gonna see it in all of the relaxing recipe videos because this is what I'm using to catalog what works and what doesn't in my smokes. So I hope it's helpful. All right, let's dive in. So when you open it up, you're gonna notice there's a template page here. There's a little bit of info on the front end. This page here, just a little information about the journal and a reference back to the YouTube channel where you can learn more, which is where you're watching. You'll see an example page here, and you'll see it's listed under this tab here called Journal. One of the things I tried to do, and it was successful, was design it so that you could quickly access the different tabs just looking on the edges of the pages, so you can find easily the section that you're looking for. So we'll start here. The idea is that you are logging all of the smokes that you do, and you're logging all of the information about it. One of the things I ran into early on is I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was working and what wasn't. And so over the years, I began paying a lot more attention to certain things. These are the things. So I wanted to save you a little bit of the time of wondering, do I need to track wind speed? At one point I was, because in my area it was really windy. And then I was tracking, humidity level. Does that make a difference? Does elevation matter? All of those things. So I wanted to distill it down so it's easier for you to track it and identify the things that are working or not working. So here's the example: pork shoulder, smoked on this date. Magic dust, that's the name of the rub. Look it up. It's actually a really good recipe. It's a free one on some website. What about marinade? What did you use? What brine did you use? Any? In this case, I didn't use any. Sounds like we have some emergency alarm going off in the background. And I know there's a bunch of kids having a stick war in the backyard. So sorry for the ambient noise. What wood did you use? In this case, hickory, yes. Actually, that would be a cool blend, but pecan and hickory. How many pounds? That's a big one because the larger the cut of meat, the longer it takes to smoke. And so what you're doing is you're registering and you're acknowledging that that's true. And you're able to track it now more effectively. What about your smoking temperature? I've discovered over the years, I really like smoking pork shoulder at 230, which doesn't make any sense, but like there's no strong argument as to why that's better than 225, but I prefer it. And so that's what I smoke at. Weather, 84 and windy on the day that I made up here. Today for me, as I'm filming, I'm actually watching right now, snow flurries are happening. Well, that matters. That matters a lot. And so for me, this part of the log right here informed my decision to buy the smoker that I have. So I don't have to worry about buying a smoker that's really thinly insulated because I have one that's very insulated and it's a tank. And so that's a factor for me. I have units that I love that are very thin walled, but I can't use them on a day like today. And so it becomes a factor. That's all your preparation. In terms of cooking itself, really all I care about is how long and what was the internal temp that you pulled it off at. This internal temp matters a lot when you're trying to pull it. So I've run into situations where it's really hard to pull the pork. That's because I pulled it off too early. I pulled it more at a slicing temp. And so those are insights that are helpful for me. And then duration of time. The example that I'll show you that I did of my own pork shoulder, that one revealed to me that I smoked it maybe a little bit too long. And then results. How did it actually go? This part doesn't matter if this is terrible. And that's what I kept finding as I was logging this stuff. Then I forgot if it was good or not. So then replicating bad recipes. What's the texture? Is it tough or is it tender? Where does it land on that spectrum? Flavor. Is it bland or is it flavorful? Doneness. Did you find that you overcooked it? Was it dry or was it moist? And then overall, was it inedible? Like, did you guys go out to eat after this? Or was it amazing? Where did it fall on that spectrum? Those are the factors for me that really matter when I decide if I'm gonna replicate a recipe. And then what are some notes? One example that jumps to mind, I did a pork tenderloin and I cooked it and it was perfect. I mean, perfect. There was a little bit of pink in the center. And I know certain people in my family would be uneasy about that. So that was a note that I put. I said, everything came out perfect. However, there was a little pink in the center, but then I paid attention at the meal. It didn't bother anybody. So that was good. But those were the kinds of notes. So here's a real life study. This is actually from the first relaxing recipe video, pork shoulder. And then you can see, I didn't put the rub in there. I could have, I should have, I actually know what it is, but I didn't use a brine, forgot how heavy it was with a pound smoked. Pecan and hickory was my blend. Here you go, there's my giveaway, 230. It was cold, it was 27 degrees when I smoked it. 15 hours. I couldn't even pull it off the rack without it breaking apart. You can see that in the video. So internal temperature was irrelevant to me. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have taken it because of what I was finding down here, doneness. The meat itself was very moist, but I was finding that the bark was dry. And so I didn't have a clear way to articulate that here. So you can see some bark was too hard. So I was writing that in the notes. Overall, got very, very positive feedback from everybody who had it. It was tender, it was flavorful, and it was really, really good. So I was a little bit picky on this category here, but that shows you how you can begin rating this stuff. So even in the way I use it probably different than other people. And that's the point. The point really is to give you a tool to keep track of everything that you're doing. Now, the other things that you'll see here on the edges, I have a category for your journal, which is your normal smokes. And then we have a category, it's hard to do this, looking at the camera screen. We have a category for rubs. So rubs, sauces, sides, and desserts all have this same layout. And essentially all I'm doing here, giving you a place to write all your ingredients, the name of the recipe up top, your rating of it, and then what did you do to prep? Anything special? You know, so for a rub, it's put all herbs in the container, that's it. And then your notes, does it lean spicy? Or so in some cases, like with Magic Dust, this is an example, you can remove the cayenne pepper and it'll kick it down a notch. So that'll be a real safe recipe if you're doing, you know, let's say you have family coming over who don't like spicy. Or maybe you're catering a large event and you don't want to light everybody up. Maybe you do, I don't know. But those are the things that you can include there in the notes. And the same goes for all the categories. Sauces, you can see the same. Sides, and then desserts. So my goal with this really is twofold. I want you to not forget what worked, and I want you to stop having pieces of paper strewn across your kitchen. I have lost numerous recipes because I had them listed or inserted into books as bookmarks, or I would write notes on the page of a book where I got a recipe and I made augmentations to it, and it just became a hassle. And so at one point I remember asking my wife, hey, I have a piece of printer paper and it has a bunch of numbers on the top and then a line, and then on the bottom it's got some like recipe. Have you seen it? And she just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way I would be able to recognize what you're looking for. And I found it, you know, 17 pages deep in my nightstand. It's like, just stop. And that's when I realized I needed to make something like this, even if it was just for me. And in doing so, I thought, maybe it's helpful for others. So hopefully the overview is helpful, and hopefully the journal itself is helpful, and that it will empower you to be able to consistently and reliably remake really good barbecue.